And it won't make one bit of difference if I answer right or wrong. When you're rich, they think you really know. Hi there, welcome to episode 6 of Yarns and Yarns, where we talk about all things yarn related, as in fibers, and then we spin yarns as in stories. I'm Shay McIntosh Ford, and I live in Colorado with my husband, my 2 boys, and my puppy. You might have noticed that I made a new logo. I've never made a logo before, so I have no idea how to fix the pixelation or anything. But it does get across the point of, what I'm doing here a lot better than the picture of me in my pumpkin hat beret. What am I doing here? Do I really know? Has quarantine caused you to be more existential too? Maybe not others so much, like the people 30 miles north of me who decided that the best gift for Mom would be to expose her to a deadly pandemic. This is fine. That doesn't really instill a lot of confidence in me to go out and help the economy. This isn't just the flu, people. 8 weeks after I came down with it, I still have a sore throat and I can't taste properly. I'd shout, but that would hurt. Singing was bad enough. Stuff like this makes me feel like I shouldn't celebrate the 4th of July this year. I'm too embarrassed. You're right. No politics. I deserve the hat of shame. I have been buying things online, but I'm starting to run out of extra spending money. The Joann's Craft store in my area has actually a really great, safe curbside pickup process. You can still go in if you want to, but if there are too many people in there, you have to wait online outside. I would totally be willing to wait. Patience is a virtue. I do want to support more indie dyers, though. A lot of them are hurting financially, especially with all the craft shows being canceled. I guess that's where they get a lot of their income from. And as a musician, I can totally sympathize because I'm not getting any gigs right now. One of the podcasters that I watch is Nicole from Durab Creations, and she does crochet and cross stitch. She totally reminds me of my mom and aunt, so watching her show is kind of extra special for me. She also dyes yarn and Ada cloth. Her dyes are all natural, so they make some really interesting effects. So I ordered a skein that's dyed with black beans and avocado. It's a merino 75-25 fingering weight. I also love her onion skin dyed skeins. They come out this beautiful golden color. So I'll link to her Etsy shop down below, and then we can go check them out. Always wanted a sock head hat, and I think this will make a really nice one. So I'm excited about that, and I found a free pattern on Ravelry for a sock head, so I'll link that too. There's another podcaster I follow called The Cat Lady. Cat spelled with 2 T's for craft all the things, which is very clever. She's getting set up to start dyeing yarn, and I like her experiments so far. She's got a couple that exactly match her cats, which is really cute. So I'll be excited to start ordering from her too. When I have the extra money. I really only have the one FO today, which is my summer scarf. And I used Aunt Lydia's crochet thread number 10, and the colorway is Delft, but it's cotton, so it's not going to be overly hot. And these are love knots. So this is crochet. This is obviously not knitting. But I thought that came out really nice, and it's not going to be real hot, even if it's doubled up and, you know, um, bundled on itself in many ways. Mine made it a little too long. I used the whole skein, and I still have another one. So I think I picked these up at a thrift store, actually. Although I know you can find them at most craft stores. I also have the same size thread in this like royal blue. I think actually it's called Dark Royal is the colorway, and I have this variegated one as well. So this is actually going to lead me right into a quasi FO, but I'm using this for something else as well, which I will get into in a minute. I call it a quasi FO because it's my weird attempt at socks. I mean, it's not meant for any real purpose. I just wanted to get a feel for how socks are constructed, because the cotton really isn't all that expensive. So that way I could try socks without a lot of risk. So there's a couple new to me techniques that I found, with this, mostly 2 at a time, and doing the Kitchener stitch at the toe and the back of the heel, and putting in the heel, the afterthought heel. So yeah, when you do 2 at a time socks, at least the way I learned it, you start with the cuff, but you only do the cuffs 1 at a time, and then you're supposed to store the cuffs on a spare, like the first cuff on a spare set of needles, which I totally forgot to buy in the right size. So I managed to find these old hair baubles that I picked up at a Renaissance festival in Florida, and they've worked well. They didn't have the points, so it was a little hard to get the stitches on, but it worked. The toe is obviously not long enough, but I already knew how to decrease, so I wasn't really concerned with that. I just did it a couple of times. I was more concerned with the Kitchener stitch. I'd never done that before. Actually, well, this one didn't come out so good. I guess some, I don't know if you can see it, I guess some kind of messed up stitches in there. This one didn't turn out too bad. A new little skill I learned. I remember working with a woman years ago who knitted, and she was so excited that she'd learned the Kitchener stitch, and I wasn't knitting a lot yet, so I had actually no idea what she was talking about. But she was very excited to have figured out the Kitchener stitch. It was also back when YouTube was only a few years old, so I can imagine she was trying to learn it out of a book. I can see how that would be a big deal now. The cotton was a bit difficult to stitch in stocking it. It was really rough on my fingers, and it was a little surprising, and it didn't slide very well on this needle. It kept getting bunched here, but I think it's really meant for crochet. It's not meant to be knitted like this. But the big thing was getting over my fear of cutting into the heel for the heel. I was terrified that I'd drop stitches and it would all come unraveled, but that fear was unfounded. It kind of looks like a sock for someone who had to go through an awful foot binding. Without the heel, it kind of looks like one of those little mitts you make for newborn babies to put them on their hands so they don't scratch their faces. I can't decide if I should segue into my whip socks or what I decided to make with the rest of the cotton. I'll go with the cotton, but it's all connected, like an ongoing circle. So with all 3 of these skeins, because they all kind of go together, there's both solid blues are in this variegated. So I decided that, oh, by the way, the reason I bought these, I used them for a failed attempt at making hats out of doily patterns. It wasn't working. So I gave up. But I've always wanted a lacy shawl. So I'm going to use them. I've never knitted lace before. This is my very first attempt. So all the yarn overs and everything is a little complicated for me. But that's what I got so far. Just the very beginning. And we'll see how it goes. But the pattern is called Empty Nets. And I like the inspiration behind it. It's about helping, preserve ocean life with the fisheries and stuff. But I'll link that below, and we'll see if I can do it. I can't learn if I don't try, right? But if I drop a stitch with this, I'm gonna cry. And I have the feeling that I'm gonna have to invest in a longer needle, because I don't think this is going to be long enough. But it's the right size. This is a 4, by the way. I'm sorry, it's a 6. It's a 4mm. I don't know where, I think this might have been a clover needle, but I'm a little frustrated that they printed the numbers because they're rubbing off. So I might have to get a size checker. My voice is getting raspy. That's whip number 1, and here is whip number 2. Bam! My first real socks. I love the patterning. Very cool. I like this sock yarn, but I'm not wild over it. I really want to do socks with the colors and stripes that are inspired by Harry Potter and Star Wars. That's what Lisa uses a lot of times at Knit All the Yarn podcast. She makes some beautiful socks, but they're pricey. I need to still figure out how to make a comfortably fitting sock, so no use spending a lot of money on yarn I won't be able to fit into. And I totally watched as much of the Star Wars movies as I could on May the 4th. But really, this isn't bad. It was on sale at Joann's. It's a Patton's Croy. So there's a label for you. And the colorway is called Dad's Jacquard, I think is how you pronounce that. And I kind of wanted the patterning to match, but as you could see, it would have meant cutting off quite a bit on the front of one of the skeins, so I just left it. I think it's okay. As it is, I think my needles are too big because I'm running out. I thought I would be able to have enough left over for the toes and heels, but they're not quite the length that I wanted yet. So I ended up getting a contrasting color. I think it almost works. It's not quite right. I ordered it online, so I couldn't really see, but it's just my first pair, so I'll get better. I did make a gauge, but I thought it would work. The stitching was right, but the rows were off, and I couldn't find a 2.5mm needle. But the label says to use 3.25, so I'm using a 2.75. Sorry, that's a lot of numbers. So I figured it would work. Obviously not. So this color is called muslin, which is actually, it's upside down. It's actually very appropriate since this is my first try at real socks. For those of you who don't sew and understand that, it's because sewers will make a garment out of cheap muslin first before cutting into their regular fabric, just to make sure the fit's right. So, same thing. So this is not a merino. it's regular wool, so it's not all that soft. It's a little on the scratchy side. So I'm assuming it's going to be really warm to wear in the wintertime, but they're 75% wool and 25% nylon. It's just a first pair. Lisa said it took her a few tries before she got the fit right with her socks. I mean, you should really go check out. I'll link below. Check out her YouTube show. She has the most gorgeous socks. She knits like at least a pair a week. They're really nice, and I can see now why knitting socks is so addictive, because it's a lot of mindless knitting. You know, you just knitting in the round, and so it's really easy to watch movies, or in my case catch up on podcasts, or listen to books, and just keep on going. You don't have to think about a pattern, purl knit. It's just really nice. And because I knew it was going to take me a few tries, I also ordered this colorway. So I got 2 balls of this, and I'll go ahead and use the muslin, although I should get a smaller needle before I start this one. But this is called Singin' the Blues Stripes. I like blue. I do wear a lot of blue, so I just thought that would be kind of nice. The pattern that I'm using, I'm not entirely following the whole thing. It's the Smooth Operator sock, and I'm mostly using it to figure out like stitch count and heel placement, but I'm using a couple YouTube videos to figure out the rest, so I'll link below to all of that stuff. But I think I'm going to have to invest in a sock blocker. Looky what else I got. So I had never used progress keepers before. I always had these plain plastic stitch markers. To save money, I ordered some charms, some jump rings, and the lobster claw clasps, so I could make my own progress keepers. And actually all came out kind of cute. So I made the snow, there's like 3 snowflakes on here. I love snow. Winter is my favorite time of year, and fall comes in second because it anticipates winter. And I know that sounds probably crazy to a lot of you, but I grew up in Florida. I lived there for over 30 years. I hate the heat, and I always romanticize snow. So yes, I had to have snowflakes. And then I found these little 4-leaf clover charms too, a little square and a teardrop one. And I've got a coffee mug and a teacup. Kind of cute. And then of course my favorite here is this hobbit door. I thought that was so cute. But unfortunately I probably won't ever use it as a progress keeper because it's kind of heavy. But I was surprised when I got it. It's a locket. It's got a magnet. The door opens and there's a magnet inside. So I'm going to stick a picture in there. But I don't know what I'm going to use it for, if not for progress keeper. Maybe I'll make a necklace. I did order some music charms, but by the time my order came in, apparently somebody bought them at the store because they were all out, which is a shame because there were harps on there. Oh well, I guess I'll get them next time. So whip number 3 is my Weasley sweater. The last time you guys saw it, it was just the front and the back panels, and that was it. So since then I have stitched the front and back panels together on the shoulder, and I did the collar, which fits over my head just fine, and then I finished one sleeve. Back up a little bit. So the sleeve is worked flat, so I still obviously have yet to stitch the seam up, So the new techniques that I learned, I've finished learning everything. Like, I know how to finish the rest of this sweater, and this is my first sweater, so that's pretty much learning the new techniques was the only thing that was keeping me going, because I know that this is Hobby Lobby brand yarn, and now I don't have the motivation to finish. New techniques I learned were to pick up the stitches. I had to look that up. I'm like, I don't know how to pick up stitches. So I picked up the stitches to make the sleeve, which was a little tricky because you have to kind of eyeball it to make sure that, because you have to pick up a certain number of stitches before you start. So there was that. And then learning the mattress seam, which I started doing down here. Obviously, I need to finish that. So yeah, once I get the seam done, then I pick up stitches on the other side, make the sleeve, and seam that up, and it'll be done. But I don't know if I should finish it. I don't feel like it anymore. I still want a Weasley sweater, but not this one. So I guess I should finish it. I've posted it in a couple of make-along groups, so yeah, I really should finish. But I showed it to Charlie, and now he wants one. So I don't know. I may or may not finish this, but I will definitely make a different one for me, and then also I might make Charlie's first, and then another one for me. But definitely different yarn when I can afford it. Now it's time for stories. I had to put aside the Casual Vacancy and Bleak House for now, because 6 books, digital books that I had on hold at the library, all came in at the same time. Why does that happen? One only took me a couple of days to read. It was so good. It's called Such a Fun Age by Kiley Reid. I had seen her interviewed, I think, by Trevor Noah, and it just sounded like a good book, so I stuck it on my wait list. So if you liked The Help, you'll like this one. It's set in 2016, so the illustration of racial disparity is very different, but it's totally there. And though it deals with very weighty issues, there's still a lot of hilarious things that happen that really kind of keep it nice and light, which is what keeps you really reading. Think of the scenes in The Help with the yard full of toilets, or the chocolate pie, that kind of stuff. It was fun. Reid pushes this idea of the problems of being fake, and not really getting to know a person. A lot of the characters reminded me of Caesar Flickerman, from the Hunger Games, the host, when he interviews all the game's contestants. So the characters in Such a Fun Age, they ask questions of other characters in an effort to get to know them, but it's all like in a very plastic and superficial way. They appear to care, but it really is all about the problems with having a big ego. So ego is big, and there is one aspect about exploring how a big ego ruins everything that I really want to get into, but I'm afraid if I do, I'll ruin it, spoil the story for you, so just know that it really resonated with me. To avoid spoilers, I'll read the blurb for you, also because Alix's name is pronounced really strangely, and if I hadn't listened to the audio version, I would have pronounced it Alex in my head until I got to the scene where the pronunciation is explained. Alix is not a name I'd ever heard before, but there's a reason for it. So if you think that this might be a good read for your child, because of it illustrating the problems of racism like The Help did, just be aware there's some steamy scenes and several F-bombs. Alix Chamberlain is a woman who gets what she wants and has made a living with her confidence-driven brand, showing other women how to do the same. So she is shocked when her babysitter, Emira Tucker, is confronted while watching the Chamberlain's toddler one night, walking the aisles of their local high-end supermarket. The store's security guard, seeing a young black woman out late with a white child, accuses Emira of kidnapping 2-year-old Briar. A small crowd gathers, a bystander films everything, and Emira is furious and humiliated. Alix resolves to make things right. But Emira herself is aimless, broke, and wary of Alix's desired help. At 25, she is about to lose her health insurance and has no idea what to do with her life. When the video of Emira unearths someone from Alix's past, both women find themselves on a crash course that will upend everything they think they know about themselves and each other. I highly recommend it. Enjoy! Another one that came in was Harry Potter y la piedra filosofal. And I should probably go ahead and buy that one because I can't read it fast enough before it gets returned again. Yes, I am trying to read Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter book, in Spanish. I've gotten through the first chapter, and while I can't understand absolutely every word or phrase, I know enough Spanish to be able to follow it pretty well without having to look at an English translation, and it helps that I just know the Harry Potter story very well. Me encanta leer Harry Potter. I've been trying to learn Spanish off and on my whole life, and I saw in a TED Talk that it helps to read a favorite book in the language that you want to learn. I also started watching several childhood favorite Disney movies in Spanish. I still will be a bit lost if you try to hold a Spanish conversation with me. After I master Spanish, I am going to move on to Irish. The other digital book I started is political, so yeah, I'm not going to go there. But if you really want to know, I'd be happy to tell you in the comments. A physical book I'm reading is also political, but I do have to finish reading it soon. I borrowed it right before the shutdown started, and I just never got around to reading it. So I thought I had a little bit more time, but my library just announced that it was going to start a curbside service very soon, and that all due books will need to be returned. I haven't done any writing of my own, but I'm trying to give myself some grace on that. Not only am I dealing with the last 2 lingering symptoms of COVID, but I was also glutened about a month ago with Chili's takeout. And, it's not bad. Physically, I really could just push through. I should be doing lots of writing and lots of music, but I just still feel blah. Sore throats and gluten cramps really kind of put a damper on personal creativity. So really the only writing I've kind of done is the script guide for this podcast. So I guess that counts. So I think I should give a shout out to some of these other podcasters that I love to knit to. It's like having a crafting session with other people. I get inspired with seeing everything that they're all making. So I already mentioned Knit All the Yarn and Rob, and the cat lady who actually inspired that bit with the green screen. But there's also Amy at Happy Little Yarn. She joined a Harry Potter knitting and crochet house cup group on Ravelry. She was sorted into Gryffindor, and she makes things for house points, which I just love that. If I had the time for the next sorting, I totally want to join. I also watch Chevirel, and sometimes she does sewing too, but really no matter what she's working on, she always finds a way to make me laugh. Another one that always makes me laugh is a new one for me called Needles at the Ready. The banter back and forth between Kevin and Ray is so fun. I'm still catching up on their episodes. Episode 7 gave me pause. They talk about the preference to not over-edit the knitting shows. because you, the audience, you like to feel like you're just hanging out with other knitters. I get a kick out of editing, but maybe I go too far. I don't know. I did go a little lighter on the sound effects this time. Sorry, couldn't help myself. I also tend to have Kathleen Kelly syndrome, where I can't think of what it is I wanted to say in the moment. So that's why I have a tendency to write things down first. But that's a lot to memorize for one long take the way other podcasters do. So, I mean, if you're still with me, I know this is running a little long this time. Comment below, let me know. Should I stop so much editing? Do you like the sound effects? Should I stop using them? I don't know. I'm brand new at this, sort of. I want to take a moment to say thank you to Ray for choosing to be an RN. I know this got to be really stressful right now, and it may not feel like it because I did study nursing, so I kind of have an idea, but you don't, I know that you probably don't feel like a hero, and maybe you do, and you really should, because we all see all of our essential workers as heroes right now. And of course, I watched Lee Mack. She just finished her crochet portrait of Clark Gable. You have got to check it out. I will link that episode below. It is amazing. I mean, stunning. Absolutely stunning. Go look it up. That's all I have for now. Check out the links below for where to find me on social media. And if you're interested in reading my books, I'll link those below too. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, por favor. And I'll see you next time. Happy yarning. But after I master Spanish, I'm going to move on to... I could probably push through, because really my... She joined a Harry Potter knitting and crochet house group. So episode 7 gave me pause. Really, it must be really stress